Welcome back. All right, so here is a news of the day video for all you fine people for your Tuesday, February the 20th, about a month from the start of spring. Sounds good to me. All right, so start things off, and the reason why I'm wearing a Detroit jersey, wearing my Gordie Howe jersey too. I do like this logo. I wish they would do something with this logo on it at some point in the near future. But anyways, Michael Rasmussen has signed a 4-year extension with the Detroit Red Wings. The cap hit $3.2 million. And if you watch Rasmussen play, you'll know, yep, that could end up being a real bargain. He's still a young forward. I don't think he's peaked in terms of his offensive production to this point. And so, yeah, kind of fun to see him get an extension that I think is worth about where he's worth right now, and should age very, very well. With the salary cap going up this summer, the expectation being the salary cap is going to go up a lot over the next few years. This contract should age really, really well. Another good move in terms of bookkeeping by Steve Yzerman, who has got his game plan, but he's not the only one on the board who has a game plan. Gary Bettman. So he has upheld the suspension for Morgan Rielly. So there's only one game left in the suspension. At this point, you're appealing it to make sure that he doesn't lose that 5 games worth of money. It's a good amount of money, right? But Bettman has upheld the suspension. And I do wonder if the NHLPA has something else behind this, because it's not the first one that's been appealed. There's been a lot of them that have been appealed. Maybe this is how Marty Walsh wants to do this. But at some point in time, maybe the union sits down with the NHL and says, look, you guys are going to back up every single suspension. Maybe it's time we have a third party. So the appeal could be to a third party at some point. But at this stage, it goes to Bettman first. We know he's going to uphold the suspensions. Very, very rare. I mean, in all the years I've had the channel, I think he's overruled a suspension once. I think. Where he lowered it. I think that's happened once. But again, I'm not sure, but I think at some point in time he has overruled sort of a suspension at one point. But yeah, this one is not one of those suspensions. Hayskanen's returning to the lineup for the Dallas Stars tonight. He was out for personal reasons the last game. So they've sent Petrovic back down, which is good. The fact that Pouliot was running the second power play unit in their last game against Boston. I mean, Derek Pouliot's been around. He once his career's come to a conclusion, and I do a career video on him because I kind of have to, don't I? He's been through so many teams now. So is he going to reach that Mike Sullinger level? Maybe not. But if we counted minor league teams, and if we counted just the amount of times that he's been moved around, I think he'd be close in terms of just organizations and places played. But that being said, the big news, of course, with Dallas right now would be Stankoven gets called up, so he's been called up, and hopefully gets a chance to show what he can do. In Texas, their AHL affiliate, above a point per game, 57 points for him, and so that's impressive. We'll see how Stankoven does at the NHL level, and how quickly I end up getting a jersey with that name on it, because, I mean, since usually the nickname that players get is the first syllable of their last name with a Y at the end, he becomes Stanky, doesn't he? So, I mean, how could I not want a jersey and go, yeah, so this is my Stanky jersey. It just works, people. Anyways, we'll see. We'll see where he ends up playing and everything else. But I'm excited to see him in the lineup, whatever line that ends up being on. But I think from his talent level and from what he showed at the World Juniors as well, I think he's going to get top 6 minutes sooner rather than later. And it's a good problem to have in a Dallas organization that already has a pretty good top 6. So that should be fun. So for the Arizona Coyotes, who, yes, there's a video coming up. I already have the board. It's right behind this one. I apologize to Coyotes fans everywhere. But the winless streak reached 10. So got to do a video. But their general manager, Bill Armstrong, before last night's game, was asked about Andre Tourigny and whether or not he still believes in his coach, and he said yes. Now, I mean, we've discussed whether or not this is the kiss of death. It feels like any coach over the last couple of years that somebody's come out publicly and said, yeah, he's not going anywhere. Those coaches are all gone. But it is a job that, yeah, you get replaced quite regularly. The question becomes one of if Arizona undergoes some major change with the organization, what could that mean for everybody's jobs? So at this point, Tourigny keeps his job, I think that's the right move, because I don't think Arizona has a playoff-ready roster. Bill Armstrong also pointing out, hey, look at some of the teams we've lost to. They're really, really good teams. So it sounds like, at least publicly, there's complete support for the coach. But again, there's usually complete support for the coach, and then all of a sudden, it's just not there anymore. So John Tortorella, and this has been the discussion point with Philadelphia, and it is odd, and I'm glad to see other media seeing it as being kind of odd. But I'm impressed by this at the same time. The Philadelphia Flyers came into this year with a game plan. Danny Briere and his staff, which includes John Tortorella, they have a vision for how they want this team to go and what the plan is. So he being John Tortorella, went to Danny Briere and said, look, we're considering trading some players. Do you mind if I go to these players and let them know they're on the block and that they could be moved at the trade deadline? Briere said, fine. So Tortorella has sat down with players who could be traded by the Flyers at the deadline to let them know they could be on their way out. And he said the reason he wanted to do this is because he didn't like that there's all these rumors at the deadline and players don't know what's going on. It can be kind of distracting, and sometimes the team won't even tell a player that they might get moved, and then suddenly they're traded and maybe they find out somewhere else. So he wants to make sure there's full transparency. It sounds like they're sticking to the game plan as well, which would be moving, guys who might become UFAs this summer in exchange for futures. It does sound like it could be a full-on sell. I would be surprised if it's a full sell. I would be surprised if they don't bring back players who can slot into the positions for the players who got moved. I would be surprised if they don't try to keep that lineup as competitive as possible. I mean, we can have the discussion about whether or not they want to build to a Stanley Cup or whether or not they want to build a playoff team. But when you have a team in the playoff spot, and as unpredictable as this year looks, I wouldn't want to back out. I feel like this could be a year where we could see a lot of upsets in the first round. A ton. It just doesn't feel like the teams at the top right now are as intimidating as usual. And we've seen, huge upsets in the past. It feels like we're kind of overdue for a year that we all say, wow, what happened here, like 2019. So, a team like Philadelphia could walk into the playoffs as, somebody nobody's picking and maybe go on a bit of a run. The kind of hockey that Philadelphia has been playing all year is playoff hockey. It's exhausting. It's very physical. But if they can keep it up and if they can make the playoffs, they could be really dangerous. So I will be interested to see what they do at the deadline, if that makes them less dangerous and if they back out. Of course, for teams below the playoff line, they'd be very happy to see Philadelphia weaken themselves at the deadline. Let me know your thoughts. If you're a Flyers fan, do you want to see the team, stick to the plan? And if that means backing out of the playoffs this year, that's just fine. Or would you like to see them make the playoffs and see what maybe they can do? So for the New Jersey Devils, who are, of course, playing today, Jonas Siegenthaler's off of IR. Vanacek's been moved to injured reserve, retroactive to February 10th. So you do that in order to make sure you've got that ability to pull a player off of IR as soon as possible. But Siegenthaler being back is good news for the New Jersey Devils. That blue line, it's had some issues during the year here and there. And inexperience has been part of the problem. Also, how do you replace Dougie Hamilton? The answer is you don't. But getting Siegenthaler back, that should really help the pairings tonight. I also wanted to say this in this video as well, because yesterday I was not happy with the way that Minnesota-Vancouver game went. But I don't allow myself to record a video now when I'm upset. That's something that I came to a realization about years ago, where I decided, no, if I'm upset, I will not record a video. I'll wander around the house here and just, vent and just whatever. But when I make videos, one of the reasons that that's important to me is because I try to be as even-tempered as possible in all my videos. I feel like if I was really angry and just, really expressed all of that, it doesn't feel like it would suit my other videos or what I want to put out there either. And so I do my best to make sure that I'm cool and calm before I record. There have been times where I've started a video and I'm like, a little too upset here. Let's go ahead and start over, and I've started over. So I just don't feel like it's a good thing for the channel. I know there's people who prefer for me to do that, but it just, I don't think it works for the channel. I've always, I don't see myself as a journalist per se. I just don't, because I don't have, the training and all of that. What I did in high school doesn't count. The school newspaper and stuff, that really doesn't count. but I've always sort of said, okay, if I want to be in this space, it's important to make sure I keep a level head as often as possible. So there are exceptions. There have definitely been some exceptions here and there, but I do my best to focus it. If I know I'm going to be upset during a video, but yeah, I wasn't going to make a video right after that Canucks game was done. There was a part of me that considered it in the back of my head, and I thought, nah, yeah, it's not gonna go a good place. But I'm very nervous about the Canucks tonight because you go from being against Minnesota and you just allowed 10. Now you're against Colorado, a team that's probably not very happy with the way things have been going lately. They're back at home. I just I do have some concerns there, but we'll see how it goes. The one thing with the Canucks this year is they have defied expectations in terms of dealing with adversity. The adversity has not lasted very long, so maybe they do bounce back tonight. Maybe they get the win, and everything will be awesome. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It does mean a lot. I will talk to you again soon.